Before we begin, a quick note. Viewer discretion is advised. This is entertainment. Imagine one of country music's biggest stars stepping into daytime TV's fiercest arena and finding himself across from one of the most outspoken, filter-free hosts in American broadcasting. What follows isn't just another celebrity segment gone sideways. It's a lesson in holding your ground, a clash of worldviews that rises from polite chatter to one of the most explosive exchanges in live television lore. This is the day Blake Shelton walked onto The View and landed a verbal knockout that left Joy Behar without a comeback, the studio reeling, and millions of viewers choosing sides in a cultural fight years in the making. Before you see what happened next, understand this. What you're about to read isn't gossip fodder. It was a moment when polish slipped, when the mask fell, and a straight talker from Oklahoma reminded the entertainment world exactly who he is and who he refuses to become. The morning began like any ordinary episode of The View. House lights flared across the familiar set. The audience settled in, buzzing with anticipation. The crew moved through their rehearsed motions. Blake Shelton was the day's marquee guest there to plug a new album and chat about upcoming tour dates across America. It should have been the usual. Softballs, a few laughs, maybe a mention of The Voice. Standard promo fare for one of the most recognizable faces in country music. Blake arrived with that easy, confident stride Oklahoma charm in every step. He tipped his cowboy hat to the cheering crowd, flashed the million-dollar grin seen on magazine covers, and dropped into the guest chair with the relaxed ease of someone who's done this dance 1,000 times. The audience responded in kind, genuine, enthusiastic applause. Here he was, coach on The Voice, chart topper, beloved American entertainer. What could possibly go wrong? The panel welcomed him warmly. Whoopi Goldberg offered her professional greeting. Sarah Haynes beamed, clearly thrilled about the musical guest. Even Sonny Hostin seemed sincerely pleased to have him on set. Everything tracked exactly as Blake's publicist had promised. Friendly, light, promo first, easy breezy morning TV. But Joy Behar sat unusually quiet. A small, predatory smile tugged at the corners of her mouth. Longtime viewers knew that, look, it was the expression of someone loading the chamber and waiting for the right beat to fire. Anyone who tracked Joy's rhythm could feel it coming, even if Blake hadn't clocked the trap. The first minutes flowed smoothly, questions about the album, riffs on his role on The Voice, warm banter about life in Nashville. Blake answered with practiced ease. His Oklahoma drawl added a layer of genuine charm. The audience laughed. The hosts nodded along. For a few bright minutes, it felt like a textbook appearance. Then the room's temperature dropped. Well, Joy finally cut in, her voice slicing through the cheerful tone like silk meeting a blade. Look who decided to grace us today. She leaned forward, that razor-edged smile widening. Blake Shelton, the voice of rural America. Or maybe the voice of a very specific slice of rural America. Blake's smile held, but a subtle shift passed through his eyes, the tiniest narrowing, a quick recalibration. Good morning to you too, Joy, he said, friendly but cautious. Always a pleasure to be here with you, ladies. Oh, spare us the charm, Joy shot back, waving a hand. She sat forward now, fully engaged prosecutor mode. Let's talk about your recent remarks on small-town values. You seem to think living in a small town automatically makes people more moral, more patriotic than the rest of us city folks. The other hosts traded looks. The audience, lively moments before, fell into a hush. Whoopi, ever the steady hand, tried a gentle redirect. Joy, maybe we should. But Joy was only getting started. I never said that, Blake replied, his drawl deepening in a way anyone from his world would recognize. I said small towns teach certain values, community, helping your neighbors, working hard for what you have. I didn't say anyone's better than anyone else. Oh, please. Joy's hand flicked again, dismissal dripping from her tone. That's exactly what you implied. You country stars love to brand yourselves as the real Americans. So what does that make the rest of us? Fake? Blake's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. His palms pressed a fraction harder into the armrests, but his composure held. Joy, you're putting words in my mouth. I respect people from all walks, whether they're from New York City or a town with 3,000 people. Do you, though? Joy pushed, voice rising like a storm building. Because your music, your whole persona rests on the idea that the real America lives out in the heartland, and places like New York, places like where I grew up somehow don't count. The air thickened. You could cut it. The audience went silent, sensing this wasn't daytime filler. Camera ops glanced at one another. In the control room, producers gestured frantically, unsure whether to let it roll or cut to commercial. Sarah Haynes tried to pivot back to the music, anything to find calmer waters. Joy didn't bite. You know what bugs me most about this small-town superiority thing? Joy continued, hands slicing the air, her focus locked on Blake like a guided missile. You sit there judging the rest of us while making millions singing about pickup trucks and dirt roads. You've lived in Hollywood and Nashville for decades, Blake. When's the last time you actually lived in one of those small towns you sing about? Blake's relaxed posture changed, his shoulders squared, his spine straightened. For the first time since he sat down, he looked genuinely offended, no longer deflecting, but personally hit. The easygoing country star was shedding his skin. Something colder, harder, stepped forward. Joy, he said, voice controlled with steel beneath. I may live in Nashville now, but I haven't forgotten where I'm from. I grew up in Ada, Oklahoma, population 12,000. My dad worked construction. My mom ran a beauty shop. I know what it's like when everybody knows everybody. And now you're worth hundreds of millions. Joy snapped back without missing a beat. Multiple houses, private jets, the whole package. Don't you think it's a little disingenuous to keep playing the common man card? The famous grin, the warm, disarming one that charmed America finally cracked. You know what, Joy? His tone shifted. The promo polish was gone. This sounded raw. Success doesn't erase your roots. I'm blessed, no doubt, but that doesn't change who I am or where I come from. And I'm proud of where I come from. Proud enough to exploit it? Joy countered, leaning back as if enjoying the reaction, her eyes lit with the hunt. Your brand thrives on this myth, simple country folk versus sophisticated city people. It's divisive, and frankly, it's tired. Now the tension hummed so loud it felt electric. Whoopi tried again to redirect. Let's talk about the tour. But Blake wasn't playing nice anymore. Exploit it? He repeated, voice rising for the first time, anger cutting through the veneer. Joy, I write and sing about my life, my experiences, the people I grew up with. That isn't exploitation. That's called authenticity. And if you can't tell the difference, that says more about you than me. The room inhaled as one, an audible gasp. Cameras stilled a beat too long. This wasn't banter. This was a full-on confrontation. Blake Shelton had just returned fire with both barrels. Joy's eyes flashed, color rose, in her cheeks. Her hands clamped the desk. Authenticity? She shot back. Give me a break, Blake. You're as authentic as a $3 bill. A manufactured product like any other Nashville export. Another gasp, louder this time. Even the other hosts shifted in discomfort. The guardrails were gone. This was uncharted. Blake stood slowly. Whether calculated or instinct, the effect was the same. At 6'5", he suddenly loomed over the panel, his presence larger, more commanding. The cowboy stood up, and the balance in the room moved with him. You know what, Joy? His voice was measured, controlled, buzzing with ice-cold fury below the surface. I've sat here taking your swings because I respect this show and most of the people on it, but I'm not going to sit here while you attack my character and my integrity. Oh, did I hit a nerve? Joy taunted, standing as well, refusing to yield the physical ground. Sarcasm dripped from every word. Truth hurts, doesn't it, Blake? The truth? Blake's tone went steady, dangerously calm. The truth is, you've sat behind this desk for years, throwing stones, tearing people down, making nasty remarks about anyone who doesn't share your worldview, and you call that entertainment? I call it honesty, Joy fired back. Something you might try sometime. Blake shook his head slowly, a gesture of disappointment more cutting than any insult. Honesty would be admitting you made up your mind about me before I walked in. You don't want a conversation, Joy. You want a fight. Maybe I do, she said, chin lifted, stance combative. Maybe someone needs to call out your act. The air crackled, every eye fixed on them. Cameras kept rolling. Producers stopped trying to rein it in. This was combustible TV gold. Blake looked down at Joy, voice dropping to a whisper that carried farther than a shout. You want to call me out? Fine, let's do it right. He let the down of me. Moment stretch. You sit here every day criticizing people you've never met, places you've never set foot in, lives you've never lived. You talk about small towns like they're a punchline like the folks there are beneath you. I never said they were beneath me, Joy shot back, folding her arms. I said your portrayal is fake. My portrayal. Blake's voice rose, shedding careful restraint. I didn't pick this up from a book or a TV special, Joy. I lived it. I lived in a place where if your neighbor's barn burned down, 20 families showed up the next day to rebuild, where if someone got sick, the town rallied. That's not fantasy. That's real. Oh, spare me the Norman Rockwell postcard, Joy cut in, sharp as glass. Small towns have problems, poverty, addiction, closed minds. But you don't sing about that, do you? You only sing the pretty parts. Blake's hands clenched, knuckles whitening. You think I don't know the hard parts? My hometown's taken hits, factories closing, kids leaving because opportunity's thin. I've seen families lose everything. But even then, they look out for each other. They have dignity. They have heart. And they keep voting for people who keep them down, Joy shot back, voice surging. But I guess you don't want to talk about that. The host signaled frantically for a commercial throat/gestures, wide eyes, but the train had no brakes. There it is, Blake said quietly, more dangerous for the softness. The real agenda. This was never about my music or my authenticity. It's politics. You can't stand that millions of Americans don't think like you, don't vote like you, don't share your blueprint for the country. Those millions are being manipulated, Joy said. Sharp and accusatory, by you, by the media, by politicians who tell them what they want to hear instead of what they need to know. Blake stepped closer, voice rising with conviction. Who decides what they need to know, Joy? You? The media? Politicians? Or maybe, just maybe, people are smart enough to decide for themselves. Joy slammed a palm onto the table. The slap echoed like a gunshot. Not when celebrity millionaires pretend they're just like them. Blake stood perfectly still. The studio held its breath. Then, slowly, he reached up and removed his cowboy hat, a gesture so symbolic that everyone understood it. You know what, Joy? His voice was eerily calm, the eye of the storm. You're right about one thing. I am a millionaire. My life is different now than it was. He set the hat on the table with deliberate care. The gesture weighed more than a roar. But you're dead wrong about this. I've never pretended to be anyone but who I am. I've never lied about my success. Never hidden my wealth. Never claimed to be something I'm not. He paused, then let the question hang like a blade. Can you say the same? Joy's face went pale, the color draining as if struck. What's that supposed to mean? Her voice, for the first time, wavered. Blake's smile was winter cold. It means before you lecture others about authenticity, you might start with the mirror. Silence. No one moved. Even the camera operators hesitated between filming and looking away. Joy's expression cycled shock, confusion, anger, finally landing on undiluted fury. How dare you? She whispered, hands trembling. How dare you come on my show and attack me? Blake picked up his hat, placing it back on with slow, measured movements, each one loaded. Joy, this is The View, not the Joy Behar show. And I'm not attacking you. I'm answering your attacks. You think you're clever, don't you? Joy's volume climbed, the earlier control gone. You come in with folksy wisdom and an aw shucks routine. Listen, cowboy, I've been in this business longer than you've been wearing that ridiculous hat. Blake raised an eyebrow, a flicker of honest amusement. This business? Entertainment? Last I checked, we're both entertainers. The difference is, I don't pretend my form of entertainment is more important than anyone else's. My entertainment? Joy drew herself up, voice peaking. I inform people, Blake. I educate them. I help them understand the world. What do? Help them escape reality? And what's wrong with that? Blake asked, calm against her crescendo. The juxtaposition made the words cut deeper. What's wrong with giving people a little happiness? Helping them forget their troubles for a few minutes? Joy laughed bitterly hard and ugly, because while they're forgetting, those troubles get worse. While they listen to your songs about simpler times, the world passes them by. Blake shook his head, disappointment etched in every line. You talk about informing and educating, but all I've seen today is you trying to tear me down. Is that what you call education? Helping people understand the world by sneering at them? I'm helping them see that people like you sell a fantasy, Joy shot back, composure gone. A fantasy that keeps them from demanding real change. And what changes are those? Blake's voice sharpened. What exactly am I keeping them from demanding? Joy's gestures grew wild frustration and anger in every motion. Better jobs, better health care, better education for their kids. Instead of fighting for those things, they sit in your make-believe world where everything's simple and pure and good. Blake studied her for a long moment, his gaze cutting through. When he spoke, his voice was softer but more dangerous. You know what I think? I think you're angry because people find comfort in things you don't control. Because despite all your lecturing and educating, people still choose simple songs about simple joys. Joy flushed bright red. Her hands shook. That's not what this is about, isn't it? Blake pressed, stepping closer, presence filling the space. You can't stand that folks find joy in what you don't understand. You can't stand that someone you think is beneath you intellectually connects with people in a way you can't. You don't connect, Joy nearly screamed. You manipulate. You sell lies about how great things used to be, so no one notices how bad things are now. Blake's laugh came harsh, nothing like his usual warm chuckle. Joy, I've never said things were better in the past. I've never told people to go backward. I sing about appreciating what you have: family, friends, community. If that's manipulation, then I'm guilty. You are guilty, Joy said, voice cracking tears of frustration close. Guilty of keeping people satisfied with less than they deserve. Blake looked at her for a long moment. Something shifted in his expression, not pity, exactly, but a weary understanding. Then he turned and began walking toward the edge of the set. You know what, Joy? His voice sounded tired, worn down by the clash. I came to talk music, to have a conversation. Clearly, you had a different plan. Where are you going? Joy demanded, panic creeping in as control slipped. We're not finished. Blake stopped and turned, unreadable. Yes, we are. There's no point continuing. You don't want a discussion, you want a takedown. I want the truth, Blake, Joy said, reaching for footing. I want to talk about your responsibility as a public figure. My responsibility? Blake sounded incredulous. My responsibility is to my fans, to the people who buy my music and come to shows. To be honest about who I am and what I believe. I don't owe you, or anyone, an apology for that. You owe the American people a break from your small-town mythology, Joy shouted, composure shattered. You owe it to them to stop pretending ignorance is bliss. Blake's face went stone. His jaw flexed, his eyes hardened. And there it is, he said softly, danger in the quiet. You just called millions of Americans ignorant. People in small towns who work hard, raise families, help their neighbors, you called them ignorant.